This is about as far back into history as you can see, and it's hard to stop the imagination from conjuring up the what, why, and how this was even possible. 4,500.
Olá pessoal, sejam bem-vindos ao meu canal. Meu nome é Natália, mas você pode me chamar de Nath. Eu adoro reagir e aprender sobre outros países, especialmente aqueles bem diferentes do meu, em termos culturais e econômicos. Então se você gosta desse tipo de conteúdo, fica à vontade para se inscrever, vou adorar ter você por aqui. Bom, nesse vídeo eu vou reagir a Stonehenge. Vale a visita? Então é isso, sem mais delongas, e vamos para a reação.
There is no question that Stonehenge allows a magnificent step into ancient times. The unsolved mystery of exactly how and why this monument was created is palpable and fascinating. However, despite knowing this, it still took having this English-based travel channel to finally force myself to see it in person. And that's because I've always had a small voice in the back of my mind repeating one simple question. Yeah, but isn't it just a big pile of rocks? For me, there are 3 different ways that you could visit Stonehenge, and we'll start with my own personal experience first. Then I'll weigh up the other 2 options and answer pretty much every single question you might have about visiting. What else there is to do in the area, different ways to get there, the best affordable options, how to get inside the stone circle itself, and then finishing with the ultimate question. Is Stonehenge actually worth the trip? If you're new here, then welcome. We make travel movies from around the world, as well as our homeland of England. This is Suitcase Monkey, finding out if a day at Stonehenge is actually worth it.
Caramba, como é organizado! Gente, isso é tão perfeito que parece até uma maquete, meu Deus! Muito curioso o designer do trem.
Following a 90-minute direct train from Waterloo, I arrived in Salisbury, the closest city to Stonehenge. If you're making a trip via public transport, this will be your arrival point. Situated 8 miles south of Stonehenge, it certainly has a picturesque.
Caramba, olha esse lugar! Gente, eu sei que o vídeo não é muito sobre o lugar, mas é que é impossível não olhar e não ficar impactada com a beleza desse lugar. É fantástico!
Side, and there are still a number of landmarks that reveal its medieval history. Having said that, largely speaking, it still does have all the typical English city centre staples. There's a Caffè Nero, a Nando's, a Specsavers, but you can also join the army, which I thought was incredibly convenient. Salisbury's biggest attraction is without question its cathedral. Built in the 13th century, it took 38 years to build and still stands as Britain's tallest spire, rising to an impressive 400 feet. But it's once you step inside that you are really treated to its majesty.
É designer perfeito. Gente, que incrível isso! Vocês já visitaram Stonehenge? Porque é um lugar que parece que somente no destino você já pode encontrar várias coisas. É fantástico isso, eu fico impressionada como no Reino Unido nada é apenas o destino final, e sim o caminho todo é precioso. É maravilhoso isso.
One of the first things that caught my eyes here was the world's oldest working mechanical clock, made in 1386. Unlike modern clocks, it doesn't have an actual clock face, but would tell priests when to pray by striking a bell every hour. But it is what lies in this last room that is the cathedral's most important artifact, the Magna Carta. There are only 4 surviving Magna Carta in the world, and one of them is here. well preserved, written in Latin, on sheepskin. The Magna Carta was a series of documents from the 1200s, which were the first to create laws that all free men should follow and be judged by, including the king. It laid the foundation for modern law, including the process of a trial by public jury and the right to protest. It was later echoed by the Declaration of Independence 500 years later. All of this makes Salisbury Cathedral a must-visit if you're following this route. But it was time to get back on track as to why I was here in the first place. From the city centre, there's a 30-minute shuttle bus running every hour, which I just missed. So a quick coffee and pastry was in order before I'd finally arrive at Stonehenge.
A placa com os números de linha. Wow.
As Stonehenge came into view, I must admit, there is something undeniably magical about it. This is about as far back into history as you can see, and it's hard to stop the imagination from conjuring up the what, why, and how this was even possible. 4,500 years ago,
Gente, dá pra
these
ficar muito
stones, some weighing
perto.
25 tons, were transported up to 150 miles to where they stand today. Taking around 100 people, they would have each been rolled across country, some by boat along rivers, and then somehow brought upright into their standing position. The larger stones, known as sarsens, are 7 meters in height, with almost a third of this buried in the ground. Leaving the top horizontal stones this high was a masterpiece of architecture and engineering.
Uau! Mas é realmente fascinante. É muito curioso pra gente como eles conseguiram carregar tudo isso. Existe realmente um mistério atrás disso, até porque, pelo que eu li, isso está alinhado também com o solstício. Realmente é uma coisa primorosa. Me pergunto como naquela época já tinham tanta inteligência para fazer isso. É chocante.
This is the only stone circle in the world to have this design. The absolute meaning and purpose of all this is, however, lost to us and will always be up for debate. Built by farmers and pastoralists, they are perfectly aligned to the sun's movement. Practically speaking, it could have been a form of calendar or celebration of the changing seasons. Every 6 months, the sun's movement would be precisely framed between the upright stones and aligned with this bump, or tenon as it's called. From above, you can actually see the faint outline of
Uau! Dá pra ver muito bem que tem alguns círculos assim. É um lugar muito misterioso.
a road thought to be a processional route that would have led from the River Avon and acted as a grand entrance. But it also seems to be a place of sacrifice, ritual and sanctuary. Human bones of around 150 people were buried here, and apparently one of them was Liam Neeson. All of this information I mostly gleaned from the excellent audio guide. This was actually an app I could download and then just use my own headphones with. There are numbers scattered around the site, and I liked how after each section it gave you options to choose a follow-on topic, or you could skip to the next chapter, allowing you to easily control the level of detail that you received. Now, there's loads more information that I'm leaving out here, such as druids, paganism, these 56 pits known as Aubrey holes, the mounds that surround the site, this heel stone, so there's still lots more to discover if you plan on visiting. Once leaving the stones, you of course exit through the gift shop, returning back to the visitors centre. The centre itself, although having a bit of a Jurassic Park vibe to it, is fairly small in size. Enough for ticket sales, a cafe, and accompanying exhibition, which is definitely worth a look inside.
Gente, eu tô achando tudo incrível, porque qualquer passeio no Reino Unido é muito, muito rico. Eu, sinceramente, já vou botar mais esse lugar no meu caderninho. Eu tenho um caderno que eu anoto tudo que eu vejo nos vídeos, anoto também comentários de vocês, me dando dicas, e esse é um lugar que também vai para isso. É perfeito. Eu realmente acho que deve ser uma experiência fascinante visitar um lugar assim. Eu não tenho nem palavras, uma coisa tão antiga e tão misteriosa, mas que ao mesmo tempo é tão importante para a gente entender como era desenvolvida as coisas antigamente e tá tudo tão intacto. E é curioso que você pode chegar perto disso, não encostar, mas você pode chegar perto. A experiência deve ser surreal. Eu nem sei o que sentir quando eu olho isso, porque é um lugar com uma atmosfera tão intensa que você fica até em dúvida, assim, muito confuso sobre o que sentir. Realmente é um lugar que não tenho palavras para dizer. Deve ser uma experiência fascinante.
There's a 360-degree cinema room that is probably the closest I'm going to get to actually being inside the circle, but also some artifacts
Gente, ainda
and
tem
interesting
isso.
stories, some of which I've
É
touched on already.
perfeito.
The whole experience from arrival to leaving was about 3 hours, but admittedly, a third of that was spent getting this thumbnail. And in case you're wondering what I had for lunch, it was the classic combination of sausage roll, cheese and
Como
onion
as coisas
crisps,
no Reino
and a
Unido são
cappuccino cake.
organizadas.
Oh, and the ketchup,
Muito
of course.
bonito.
It was the classic combination.
É um visual neutro e realmente muito elegante. É muito bonito como as coisas são tão organizadas, não há nada fora do lugar, nem mesmo os produtos.
Of sausage roll, cheese and onion crisps, and a cappuccino cake. Oh, and the ketchup, of course. So before doing this trip, I asked you all what questions you'd have for visiting Stonehenge, so I grouped them all up here to give you my thoughts. The first main topic was around transport and just getting there in general, which for the purpose of this video is coming from London. I mentioned at the start of the video that there are 3 ways to visit Stonehenge. You've just seen option 1, which is the
Gente, tem um suporte para botar coisas, é isso mesmo? Eu fico chocada com isso. Realmente é uma coisa de primeira classe. E isso é um transporte público. É perfeita a organização.
public transport option. The direct 90-minute return train cost £42 from London Waterloo to Salisbury, and I booked it through the app Trainline, which is what we usually use to travel around the UK. You can book it direct from the station itself, but it might be more expensive
Aquele
on the day.
relógio é
I
lindo
could have
com
got it for
neon.
slightly less, but I decided to book it as an open return ticket, so I wasn't tied down to a specific train on my return, which gave me some flexibility. I bought the bus ticket from Salisbury Information Centre, but you can also purchase it direct from Stonehenge Tour bus itself. The bus departs every hour from Salisbury Station and also from the city centre on New Canal Street just outside Mountain Warehouse. Here are all the prices for everything that you've just seen as booked.
Gente, é muito barato isso. Aqui no meu país, a gente tem coisas turísticas, mas o valor é muito caro para quem é cidadão daqui. E acaba que as pessoas de fora, os turistas, acabam visitando mais do que os brasileiros. Mas eu percebo que vocês é o contrário. Tudo não é somente para os turistas, mas para o próprio povo britânico também visitar. Eu vejo que isso é uma coisa que impacta muito na cultura de vocês, na questão social de vocês. Isso é muito admirável.
Separately and direct. I later realised it would have been cheaper to book a package ticket from the information centre or bus company for just £38. I'll link all websites in the description, just below the like button, so you can take a look for yourself. So along with the train and food, it was around £100 and took up pretty much all of the day, albeit at a very relaxed rate with filming, etc. I returned to London around 5 PM. Option 2 is you can book an all-in day package coach trip just to see Stonehenge. I've added an affiliate link below which gives you a return coach trip and Stonehenge entry for £57. This is easily the best option if you just want to see the stones in the most time-efficient, cost-efficient way. An extension of this is to book a larger package tour. These would typically add stops such as Windsor or Bath, the latter of which you can see a vlog about on this very channel. Both are great places to visit, and this option is ideal if you really want to make the most of your time, but admittedly, it would be a bit of a whirlwind visit. And then the third option would be if you're renting a car. Now, if this is the case, Windsor, Stonehenge and Bath is a really easy drive in one direction that could even be spread out over a couple of days.
Gente, eu estou realmente impressionada como vocês sabem promover o turismo. Porque só aqui eu vejo uma facilidade enorme para poder viajar. É fascinante isso, porque de fato você promove essa questão de acessibilidade e essa facilidade em comprar os ingressos, em pegar ônibus, realmente torna tudo muito mais didático e muito mais estimulante. É impressionante isso.
Also link some accommodation options in the area. And also just to note, if you are driving along this route anyway, Stonehenge is literally just at the side of the road, so you could just see it anyway without buying a ticket. In terms of other things to do in the area, not already mentioned, you could spend a full day around Salisbury if you wanted.
Gente,
it
é
also
tão
has
lindo
its
como
own
vocês têm
museum, as
flores
well as
nas
the Old
ruas.
Sarum, which is also included in the bus ticket I used. This is another famous historical site that once housed the original Salisbury Cathedral and the castle of William the Conqueror. Another common topic that I was asked about was whether you can be inside the circle and how close you can just generally get. Well, for the most part, it is a roped-off experience, with the closest you'll get being about 20 to 30 feet away, which for me was totally fine.
Gente, mas é muito perto, mesmo com essa distância. Meu Deus, eu tenho até arrepio.
Certainly didn't feel like a barrier for appreciation. Back at the visitor centre, it was strange to learn that Stonehenge has only been cordoned off like this since the 1970s.
Que curioso
Photos
como
of
as
tourists
coisas
just chilling
mudaram.
out amongst the rocks are really at odds with how we treat them today. I mean, this guy is killing it for the thumbnail. I visited in October at a point when the UK was just starting to open up to tourists, so it was definitely at the very low end of capacity. Maybe it can get really crowded at peak times, but there is such a large perimeter around the site, you'll always be able to get an unobscure view at some point. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but do let me know if you had a different experience. In terms of when to go, early or late would always be the best, with last entry time being at 2:30 p.m. In terms of months to visit, the only thing I would say is to avoid the rain if possible. So maybe booking a few days in advance when the weather is a bit more certain. In terms of actually getting inside the stone circle, this is possible, but at a price and with a bit of luck. Tickets are outside the regular opening times, at sunset or sunrise, during the equinox or solstice, but they are limited to around 30 people. While preparing for this trip, I did see the official English Heritage site offering tickets for these events, so they do pop up, but at a much higher cost. If anyone watching this has ever visited Stonehenge in this way, do please comment below and let us know your thoughts. But overall, the biggest question I received was what I questioned myself.
Realmente é trabalho intrigante. É lugar com tantos mistérios, porque havia até mesmo sacrifícios. Acho que tem muita coisa que a gente ainda não descobriu sobre isso. Eu me pergunto o que há embaixo desse lugar.
Is Stonehenge actually worth the trip? Well, just speaking personally, the short answer is no, and the long answer is yes. One of the main reasons why this was my first visit is that ultimately, on its own, it is a bit out of the way and requires some investment. For public transport day trips from the capital, I'd personally recommend Cambridge or Windsor as having a bit more bang for your buck, or sizzle for your sterling. And that's because seeing Stonehenge itself can take as little as 40 minutes, so unless you're happy with the other 5 surrounding hours, it might not be worth all of your time. So if you're visiting London specifically and tight on time, either it's an easy skip or I'd strongly suggest the direct coach trip. A better option perhaps is to make Stonehenge the dessert rather than the main course. This means adding Windsor or Bath into the mix, again by coach trip. If you do have a car, then also throw in the Cotswolds, and you've got yourself a hell of a varied, easy, compact road trip. There are already vlogs featuring our trip to Bath and the Cotswolds on this channel, and there will eventually be a Windsor one, so do check those out while you're here, or come back in the future. If, however, time is on your side, or even that you live in the UK, or you're just well into history, then I would absolutely suggest a day trip to Salisbury and Stonehenge, as depicted in this video. There is only one Stonehenge after all, and if you can get to it, then why not? In terms of your actual enjoyment once you're here, and if the trip is for you, I'll say this. The space is undoubtedly a unique experience, seeping in history and mythology. But I think it does depend on whether you're the sort of person who's happy to fill in some of the blanks, and be impressed with whatever your imagination can add, which ultimately takes all of this beyond just a pile of rocks. So I want to finish this video with some quick-fire answers to some of the more, let's say, quirky questions that I received from you. But before I answer those, please comment below to let me know whether this video has made you want to visit Stonehenge more or has made you cool off on the idea. And feel free to share any other tips that you might have. Please give the video a like, subscribe if you aren't already, or even if you think you are when you actually aren't. Looking at my analytics, most of you aren't, so do please double check that button. Thanks for watching Suitcase Monkey, and now let's finish with 3 quickfire questions from you lovely, weird people. When the aliens come in?
Gente, incrível. Eu realmente não tenho palavras. Esse lugar tem uma história muito fascinante e misteriosa por trás, mas também tem uma questão estrutural e até mesmo de construção do período neolítico. Então, é uma coisa realmente que impacta muito a forma como a gente descobre e encara as coisas do passado. E eu acho tão fascinante como vocês preservam isso. A gente vê que eles tiraram um pouco da aproximação, né, dos turistas que antes ficava, mas eu vejo isso também como uma forma de preservar, né, e não desgastar uma coisa que já é tão antiga. E assim, eu acho que isso não muda muito a experiência, porque só de você estar num lugar como esse e presenciando isso ao vivo, isso realmente é uma coisa que muda a sua vida, porque você está encarando uma coisa que tem um peso histórico tão grande e que tem uma energia tão densa ao mesmo tempo, que isso é capaz de te tirar do chão. Eu realmente não vejo a hora de visitar esse lugar. Eu fico muito impressionada como vocês promovem o turismo, porque eu vejo que vocês fazem rotas. Aqui, por exemplo, ele cita que não é só para ir para as pedras, mas que existe a opção de você conhecer outros lugares juntos. E eu já fico doida com isso, porque fico imaginando que quando eu for visitar o Reino Unido, eu vou ter muita facilidade de conhecer muitos lugares, justamente porque vocês sabem o que vocês estão fazendo. Então é isso, mas bom, essa foi a minha reação. Eu espero que você tenha gostado desse vídeo. Se você gostou, considere se inscrever. Vou adorar ter você por aqui. E se você já for inscrito, não esquece de ativar as notificações. Então é isso, obrigada por assistir esse vídeo. Nos vemos na próxima reação. Tchau!